So yeah, okay. Hey everybody, it's Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars, and we're right in the middle of a class. Chris,
We are. This is build a classic Fender style guitar,
Yep.
and everybody's doing just that.
Except for one guy who's building a G&L style guitar.
It's got G&L pickups in it.
Gary Van Halen.
Yeah, he's building an ASAT.
Yeah.
Asshat.
Does ASAT? Do you think ASAT really does stand for another Strat, another Telly? I do.
Maybe. I don't know.
What do you think, though? If you
maybe, yeah. I mean that might make sense.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, so for a long time they didn't build anything that looked like a Telly or a Strat. They had all sorts of new, unique. Everything looked like a Mustang or a Duosonic.
Okay.
You know, kind of. And then at some point, I think they figured out, if we want to sell a bunch of guitars, we need to make something a little more familiar than these Duosonics with metal plates.
So Chris, you and I have been doing workshop stuff all week. There's going to be a reveal tomorrow, Dan, and every so often we get to hang out with the guys after the day is done. And last night we did that. And you and I were talking about some of the best and worst classes. Really, what we're not talking about like people. We're talking about the best and worst workshop ideas
for classes.
Yeah. And hold on, wait, because Rod is here.
Okay.
And Rod was at one of them.
I think Rod would know.
And and you and I disagreed about something.
Okay.
And I say that the one where Rod came down and painted and did a fabric top was not the one that Steve was in.
Steve Foligno.
And you said that it is the one where Steve was. I think that was a different one.
Nope. Steve Foligno, Short Fat Lawyer, and Rod were all in the same class.
Who was the other guy?
There was at least
one other guy.
Yeah, at least one other guy.
I think that was a different
go out with us. So
no, Rod I didn't go out with you.
No, you didn't go, but I think the other guy didn't go either.
But I know that the workshop that Steve was at, we went to Jim's one night, and I don't think that. So anyway, Rod, tell me what's up. What do you think?
And what was the name of that class?
That was do anything you want.
Do whatever the hell you want. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that one today.
Do paint.
Great. Guarantee you we're going to talk about that one tonight.
We might even tell some stories. We might even tell some stories that people aren't going to want to hear.
I think you need to church it up a little bit. So
well, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick super chat from Sir David Dangerous, who writes, ad free is cool. Pick one of my classes. LOL. We will, Dave.
Dave has chosen wisely.
But Dave was at some that were that have gotten out of control. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about workshops today. Let's talk about all that stuff. But how do you think the workshop is going? So this is the first one of the year.
So it's still going to be tight tomorrow because we still have a fair amount of stuff to do, but it's mostly assembly. It's mostly Telecaster-y. Hope I don't give too much away. So I think we're in a good spot. All the paint's done.
Yep.
Fretwork's done. Necks are done. So it's mostly just assembly kind of stuff.
Hopefully we won't have rushed to the finish line.
Correct.
Our good friend Doug says ad free. And I think he means Brian made me do it. Brian's actually here live in the studio tonight. And it appears that he's drinking tequila.
Did Chris leave?
Did Chris?
No, he's coming back.
Chris Hill from Odyssey Beer Works, the great American Beer Works, is hanging out with us. Van Shank Guitar says ad free is good, and it is good. You know, all of the I went to the gym this morning.
Good for you.
And I was listening to a YouTube podcast, and I was just blown away at the number of commercials that keep coming up. And I'm like, I love that all of our live streams have no ads at all. However, I do think that we get kind of not shadow banned, but kind of not pushed when you don't have any
incentive
ads.
There's no YouTube to put us in their algorithm.
Yeah, and that
no ads.
That could very well be what's happening.
I think that even affects some of the other videos.
But Jay Valenti says, look forward to hearing from you all week. Thank you, Jay. And so I want to talk to you. For all of you guys who are doing Patreon, I think I'm going to try and do the neck through Q&A this Saturday for an hour. So let me know if you guys want to do that. Hey, Dina Hill is here. Or is that just Chris commenting as Dina Hill? It must be Dina. Dina had a birthday the other day.
She did.
Yep. And okay.
And I wished her a happy birthday.
And happy birthday to you.
I sent her a text. Hope that's okay, Chris.
I'm sure. I'm sure it's fine. So yeah. Anyway, so our live streams don't get a lot of traction, but they never did.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna do a live stream, I don't want to bombard you guys with ads. I think that's dumb. But our last regularly scheduled monetized video,
Sunday video
has been doing swimmingly. 16,000 people have watched it so far. And it's because I was trying to explain this to Adam. If you put a picture of a busted Gibson headstock and you say the words, why Gibson refuses to do something, you get a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. Yeah.
I think you should do one of like just a burn down Gibson guitar with just the word Gibson. That's it.
Yeah. And then talk about something else.
Well, and you can talk about, can you believe that poor guitar?
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to do today.
Mike Beckloff sent us a super chat, helping us get past the. So one of the reasons that you want to be monetized is so that you get YouTube dollars.
Yeah.
We discovered that you guys help us out way more than if there's no ads, than if we put ads in there. So Mike Beckloff just sent us the thing. It says ad free. Yes, indeed. God bless you, my friend. Yep. So yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Chris. The video from Sunday. Did you watch it?
I did.
Okay.
I was there for the premiere.
Okay. So that video is called, you can go, if you haven't watched it, you can go watch it. It was called The Most Misunderstood Feature of a Guitar Neck and Why Gibson Refuses to Use Them. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit that and why Gibson refuses to use them is all part of the clickbait strategy to get people to watch it. And by golly, they did.
20% of the views if it didn't have the word Gibson in it.
If I said, here's what a volute is, nobody would watch that video.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but the simple fact is, though, the volute is a wildly misunderstood component to a guitar neck. And I got to tell you, I like them, and I don't care if I like them with and I like them without. And right away in the video,
they're fun to do. They're a little bit of a challenge the first few times you do it. It's way easier to not do it. Because some machines that we use just sort of make it disappear.
Make it happen.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, because it's a weird transition area, but you run it through the machine and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I see it. I see where it is, or I see where it's not. I see what's going on here. Okay.
So my assertion in the video was that Gibson doesn't do it because, and I'm speculating here, I think they say that people don't want them on Gibsons, and it doesn't really do that much anyway. And you know what? They're right. I submit to you that the only thing the volute is really supposed to do is provide a transition from the neck to the headstock aesthetically.
A little more.
If it strengthens it at all, fine. But the simple fact of the matter is that a properly done volute probably doesn't strengthen them. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to think on a headstock. Well, for one thing, we don't have any issue with headstocks breaking, whether it has a volute or not, because we don't have that crazy angle. And so that crazy angle, there may be so much force when a guitar falls over or it hits or whatever that, you're right, the volute wouldn't help.
No, not on a Gibson.
No, but on something like we do, maybe.
Now, the Norland era Gibsons generally were maple necks, which is a humongous difference from
that's a huge difference.
They were usually three-piece maple necks versus a one-piece mahogany neck. Boy, but the echo chamber of the internet got all up in the comment section and we're like, it absolutely makes it stronger. It absolutely does. It blah 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 blah. Oh my gosh, it's been nuts, and I've been really loving the comments.
How many comments were there that actually changes the the tension of the neck. That a volute changes the tension of the neck.
You're going to be disappointed. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, so because for everybody that says that it does, there's a bunch of that say it might help, but the guitar is going to sound different because it's got this bump in the neck.
Maybe,
yeah, because you have this volute or this headstock angle, and then you have the strings pulling up on it, and it's like it's just you
want it to be more fragile there. Lots of people complained about the way that the nut the truss rod adjustment nut cavity is done and how it should be smaller and that it should have a wheel. Let me tell you guys something. If Gibson put a wheel truss rod adjustment in the heel of the guitar, that you think volutes are bad, they would fly off the handle.
You might as well just turn off the Les Paul sale switch.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, we don't want to sell Les Pauls anymore.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Click.
You know what? Let's make the Les Paul. What's the Firebird X? Let's make the X. Les Paul X.
Les Paul X. Yeah, with a wheel truss rod.
Now with wheel adjust truss rod.
And that's the only change, and people would flip.
I'm sure some people would really like them.
Accurate guitar ever in the history of Les Pauls, except it has a spoke wheel on the 21st fret.
It's got hide glue and nitro.
Yeah, but it's also got that, and people would go no.
Yeah,
and then there would be a bunch of jackasses that get one and try and figure out a way to convert it back to the other.
That would be funny. So Gibson makes what Gibson makes, and I love them. And they sometimes they had volutes and sometimes they did. Do you remember when you and I went to the NAMM show and we saw what I think it was the I can't remember what they called it, but it was a whole headstock treatment.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, that's a cool volute." And what happened?
The guy's like, well, we don't use that word. Yeah.
A lot of people
what do you call it?
That was near the end of the video, and a lot of people were like, "Gibson still uses it on." And I'm like, I guess if you would have watched the whole dang video, you would have seen it.
It was a little more modern version.
Yeah.
It might have been slightly thinner. It had a bunch of different features on it, and it had a volute, and it was actually a well done volute, which is a thing.
Lefty wants to talk about balut, which I have never had balut. We have a guy who's in the Navy, who's in the shop right now, who was in the Navy. Hey, Ryan, is it true that the best stories that men ever tell all start with this guy I knew in the Navy, not me, and are all happen in the Philippines? Yeah, I think okay, yeah. Have you ever had balut?
What?
Balut? You know that chicken egg with like a half a chicken and half a yolk in it? And there's evidently there's guys wandering around the streets singing. It's just sort of like the ice cream man, but it's the balut man. Anyhow, yeah. What's that?
Only 10% true.
Only 10% true. Okay.
The stories or what?
Yeah. Okie doke. Tommy says, "Hey Matt and Chris, I have an odd question. Do you use the cricket on your new logo? And if so, how did you design it?" Well, okay, the design of the new logo all came from the mind of Joy.
And she used, I don't know what graphic program she
It
used,
wasn't the Cricut one.
but it wasn't the Cricut one. Yeah.
And I got some
You can transfer designs into the machine and into whatever vinyl cutting machine you want.
Yeah. Or whatever thing
you want. Yeah, you could send them off. You can make water slides with it, whatever.
Here's what I can tell you though. If you appreciate the new logo and you appreciate what Joy does, I've got some good news for you because Joy's second edition of Salud magazine is available. So that's right. It will be the hard copies will be available very soon. If you signed up for the digital version, like the online where you just look at that's available right now.
Oh, cool.
So second issue is out, and did you get all your stuff in that you were supposed to do?
She didn't give me anything this time.
I know.
Because I did such a good job last time.
Anyway, so yeah, if you signed up for Joy's magazine online, it's already in your. I don't know how it works, but Joy told me, and I forgot already, but. I'm sure that like you just go to the thing and you probably have to go to the link and it's not like it just populates in your mind and you just know it already. You got to look at something, right? So anyway, Dale Gribble says a volute might make a Gibson headstock stronger. There's no mass at the pivot point. My Les Paul headstocks move a lot when I stretch strings.
Well, and that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
it's
and that's
exactly.
the flexibility of the headstock might be a reason to not put a volute on there because it changes the resonance of the neck.
I think you would be surprised at adding a volute. So if everything else was the same, a one-piece mahogany neck with a 17 or 14 degree headstock angle and a little tiny volute wouldn't change the strength of the guitar nearly as much as you think. Like I said, the Norland era Les Pauls had generally multi-piece laminate necks, and generally they were maple, which is it's a whole different animal than a one-piece mahogany thing. So
but
you know what?
I think I know that there are people that would argue that point.
I'm
not,
Chris. There are people that argue every point.
Well,
so,
but and they've got it all figured out, and they cut and paste and copy from their folder on their computer of witty comebacks and retorts. And
got guys who they trust on the forum that they're on.
And whatever the forum sway is.
Dina says,
follow
volute. Woot volute.
Yeah.
Woot. Woot.
That's not annoying at all.
That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Woot.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Do it more.
Okay. All right. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what have we talked about? Why is the volute conversation so controversial?
Because all of that traditional stuff is controversial, right? Anytime you make a change to something classic, especially in the guitar world, it's met with usually a bunch of hate.
Yeah.
So The interesting thing to me with guitars and especially American guitar companies is that they rested on their laurels for so long as far as building guitars and modernizing guitars, and then they started building them worse.
Yep.
And that caused a huge problem.
There was a rift. There was a disturbance in the forest.
Correct. So not only are they not making anything new, they're not even making them as well as they used to.
Yeah.
And that, so it's kind of like, late 70s and early 80s automobiles. Everybody was pining for the old stuff or going to something more modern from someplace else. And so that's the real problem with all of this. It's not volutes. It's that the rest of the guitar wasn't as good as the old ones.
I want you to know something, that this year's 1959 Les Paul is better than all the other 1959.
Well, that's what I read.
Les Pauls.
That's what I read on the internet.
Now more 59 than last year's 59.
Frankly, we don't know what we were thinking last year.
Well, I think we've covered this ground so many times, but Fender and Gibson and all the old guard of guitar builders and custom shops and factories, their main competition is the old stuff. That, in other words, Gibson's main competition is old Gibsons, and Fender's main competition is used Fenders.
So there was a Fender catalog that came out one year. And on the cover of it, I don't remember what year it was, 83, 84, 85, something like that.
Okay.
And it was a picture of all your favorite rock stars all playing Fenders, and it was the best ad for old Fenders ever.
Oh, yeah, because not a one of them was playing
there was Buddy Holly and Eric Clapton and Buddy Guy.
Aaron Claflin
was right there on the cover. And people like, that's the best advertisement for buying an old guitar I've ever seen in my life.
But you're right.
I didn't think about it either until somebody said that. But it was like, they're not wrong. Yeah. Hey, here's the new guitars that sort of like the old guitars.
Yeah. Woo. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit, Chris.
Okay.
Let's talk about workshops and some of our favorite ones and some of our least favorite ones.
Okay.
Some that we're definitely going to do more this year and some that we're definitely never going to do ever again.
Correct.
Okay. Where would you like to start?
Let's start on a positive note.
I think that the workshops are some of the coolest guys come and hang out with us, and they make some of the coolest stuff. No one has ever
not you guys.
Not you guys. No one has ever completely the wheels fell off their project. Like it.
No.
Yeah.
No, and this was actually something that we talked about last night was, I think somebody might have asked, well, has anything ever gone so far off the rails they didn't complete it?
Mm-hmm.
And while it's not absolutely true, no.
How about this? I am surprised that there's been a couple of people that were like, I'm like, they're not going to come back tomorrow. We're never going to see them again.
Uh-huh.
And they stuck it out and came back, and they were there and they finished.
Yeah, they did.
They finished. That's no one has ever,
to their credit, nobody's
dropped
ever
out.
disappeared.
Yeah.
We even had one guy that we weren't quite sure if he was going to come back the next day,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got delayed somehow. And so by about 9:30 or 9:45, we're like, yeah, I don't think he's coming back. And he walked in.
Yeah.
Oh man, I had this and this and this and this. So sorry I'm late. But anyway, yeah. But there is. So I like the classes where we end up, just as a general rule, finish the guitar on Friday and everybody leaves with something.
Well, leaves with a completed instrument, right?
Guitar.
Like it's strung up and they can play it.
Yeah. With a playing, working guitar.
Well, we are going on this is our 6th year of doing these workshops.
Uh-huh.
And you're right. And we've done them where there are people who leave with completed guitars or just the wood portion.
Yeah, and those are fun for different reasons.
Yeah.
But the satisfaction at the end is always greater.
What did you think about? Okay, so we're not all the way through with our first workshop of the year, but how do you think the first workshop of the year versus the last workshop of last year went?
The last workshop of last year was a Les Paul class.
No, it was the essential neck building workship. What did you think of those? And do you think we should do more?
Yeah, well, everybody in the class seemed to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a much deeper dive. It's much slower, much more theory and woodworking intensive.
Well, and it used to be that we would try to cram everything into 5 days and you would leave with a completed instrument. What we discovered is we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do that reliably.
No, and really when we start talking about, well, what if we did everything, front to back, paint, assembly, how long would that class be?
It's a semester-long class.
Well, it would be, even if you sort of rushed through it and didn't just hit the high points, it would be at least a 2-week class.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't know a lot of people that could come for a 2-week class. I don't know that I would want to do a 2-week class.
Because you and I are still in the business of building guitars for people, not just teaching guitars how to
Correct.
build
guitars. And this is, no matter what the class, this is probably way different than what a lot of people do. So by Thursday, by Friday, you start getting a little weary. And then even if you took a weekend off, you're not really 100% recharged. A lot of people aren't used to being on their feet most of the day.
Yeah.
And whatever else.
So I think that
hanging out with high-speed operators like Matt and myself.
That's right. That's high-speed, low-drag guys like us.
That's exactly right.
But I liked both the essential woodworking class that we did at the end of 2024, and it's great to have everybody back for Build a Classic Fender. Which I think is one of the more. I think it's one of the neater ones. I think Build a Classic Fender is one of the neater ones because you're not locked into Build a Classic or Ultimate Telly or Ultimate Strat. Now, there are some challenges with Build a Classic Fender because we don't know what you're going to make. So we don't provide hardly anything except for wood.
Right. Yeah. and we changed this one up a little bit. Next, we're a little bit more completed. They were more completed than they've ever been. For a class, which allowed us to do more body stuff.
But we had more plec stuff on the necks that.
But we didn't. So you were able to do a little bit more stuff on the body. Usually we'd have to crack the whip a little bit more. These guys all got.
You guys are going to see
3/4 of a day.
Yeah, you guys are going to see a lot of stuff that we've never been able to do in a Build a Classic Fender workshop before. So, paint looks great. Bodies look great. We had more time to kind of worry over transitions and contouring and things like that. So
Not yours, Gary.
yeah. So
There's nobody named Gary here.
okay, what about some of the other ones that you've really enjoyed that aren't classic Fender?
Well, so build a classic Kelly, build a no caster. It's a fun class. The Strat classes are fun.
How about this?
Yeah, the PRS one.
I was going to
really
say,
fun.
what was your favorite one last year?
Probably the PRS one.
I think both the PRS workshops were wildly successful because the guitars were so neat. And for some reason or another, it was actually easier to build half a dozen PRSs than half a dozen Les Pauls.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why.
I don't know why.
There's a few less controls. There's a few less things here and there that all kind of add up. One of the things that I really like about those kinds of classes, and I was actually telling somebody today, I was telling Wes, who's not paying attention.
It's okay.
That he's like, I have a couple phone calls I have to take tomorrow. I don't want to, miss out on.
Yeah.
And I said, tomorrow's going to be a little Wild West. Everybody's going to start doing their own thing, and we'll be jumping all over the place. And the classes where everybody's building basically the same thing, we can go through and step by step get through all of it and all be at exactly the same place. Now, for me, that's really nice. For them, it probably doesn't make a difference. But for me, as the guy that's like, okay, now take the white wire and put it on the pot number 1, and we'll solder that joint, and that's how I sound tomorrow. There'll be video.
Well,
yeah. I guess you could wire the switch that way if you want to do it wrong.
Sir David Dangerous says it's been fun to watch the classes evolve over the years, and I think that Dave was at like number 3 or number 4, maybe. Yeah,
I don't remember what the second one was, but I do. I remember Dave's first time out here.
Dave and oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, and it's right on the tip of my tongue.
It wasn't Carlos.
It was just Dave and him.
Yeah.
And that was back when it was, here's a pile of wood, we're going to build guitars, and it's all going to be,
I think the neck was
Miguel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Right. That's a weird name. They got to shape, got to shape necks, and it was a neck shaped thing. And they got to shape the neck, and that was a whipping and spurring day. Matt and Chris were cracking the whip.
Yeah.
And everybody was shot by the end of that day.
Well, I think that the new breed of workshop where you don't have to kill yourself to get the guitar done by Friday is really a lot more fun.
One of the things that I think we slowly realized is that guitar guys like to hang out with other guitar guys.
They do.
And whether you're doing something or there's a little bit of downtime, everybody's still having fun.
Yeah.
And you're talking about this and talking about that. As soon as the phones came out the first time, let me show you.
Yep.
It was like, okay, everybody's having fun. We don't have to pack every single second.
If these guys, if the guys who are in the workshop this week had to shape necks and talk about all their stuff that they like, they wouldn't have gotten it all done.
No.
Joey Dano says, now you're going to have to do a Music Man class. I think that's a great idea, actually, Doug. Rick says, how about the original Fabric Top class? Just made me so.
Those are fun. Is that Rick Bernier?
Yeah. So Rick was at the very first one. It was just Rick.
Yeah.
Now, next month, we have the PRS Ultimate PRS Workshop. And we only have one guy signed up there. Paul is the only one signed up for that. I'm really surprised. I have no idea why. Brian might have to just come and just build a guitar with him to do. He's like, yeah, all right, whatever. You want to build another Paul Reed Smith, Brian? Sure, why not? Let's have a good time. I don't know what the deal is, but there, as of right now, there are still spots available in the Ultimate PRS Workshop.
And that's a really, really fun class. And you end up with a killer guitar.
Yeah.
I like PRSs more now because of that class.
Well, Brian's built 6 or 7 guitars with us. He says that his PRS is his favorite one, and it's his main guitar now.
Yeah.
That he plays in his band. And that's his number one guitar.
Yep.
So yeah.
which is cool because he has and he doesn't just have our stuff and stuff he's built. He has a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
A lot of other good guitars. So the fact that one of the guitars he built is his number one currently is,
I think that's pretty
really,
neat.
really neat. And it's got to be a thrill for him every time he plays it.
Yeah.
Especially live and out.
Yeah.
It's cool because other guitar players in the audience will go, dude, where'd you get that guitar?
So-
I made it.
So
Yeah,
I don't know if you can
yeah.
hear Brian, but he's like, what happens is other guitar players come up to him and like, where'd you get that guitar?
Uh-huh.
And he says, I made it.
And then he
And
throws us
dude-
under the bus, and that's all he says.
He's like, what people
Yeah.
probably go, what do you mean?
Get your own.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just kind of a jerk.
No, Brian, I'm sure Brian says
he
that.
tells them. And then,
yeah.
And they go, oh, those two guys, they're jerks.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Dave says that hand carving the neck in his first class was a blast. Now, Dave, I don't doubt that, but I think that if we had more time to focus on just neck stuff, you would have gotten you would have gotten more out of it, and two, your neck would have been better. I'm not saying your neck was bad, but your neck would have been.
Yeah.
We could have worked on the neck more, and that's why I'm very glad that we're doing the essential guitar building workshop stuff, where it's just the one we're just like in the last one we just focused on necks. We're going to do a body one where all we do is stuff on the body, where we really just get to kind of deep dive into this, Yeah. Butch wants to know when the next neck only class is. I don't know, Butch. We haven't actually scheduled any of those essential classes yet, but we will. Dan says that the PRS is his favorite. Also, was Brian in Dan's workshop, or were you in the same workshop with Dan Andreas?
I was in one with him.
The PRS one?
Was he in that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't remember.
Dan, let me know if
I
Brian
think,
was in
I
that
think
one.
well, I think you were here for it, but you were helping, not
It was, you've
not
done two,
taking.
right?
We've done two.
Yeah.
And you were in the second one, and he was in the first
Yeah, I
one.
think that's right.
NSJ Guitar says that he loves carving necks, but more with mahogany than maple. I hear that,
Matt
brother.
says that too. He's like, I'm never making another maple neck ever again.
Until I
And then
make
the next
another
week,
one.
Yeah. Oh, I had some maple. I'll make a neck out of it.
Yeah. Sean says that he loved every bit of his neck through workshop and that he met all the cool kids. Okay.
He did.
The very first neck through workshop was a monumental undertaking. And there were so many things that went wrong before the workshop even started that it wasn't a disaster, but it was very stressful.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work.
So the first thing that went wrong before the class even started was, I think on the website, I had the dates for both were the same because I didn't know which one was going to be which one.
Yeah.
And then people started signing up and I'm like, oh crap. Now we've got
What are
people.
you doing? I'm building a
Yeah.
neck through. Okay. What are you doing? Oh, I signed up for the Les Paul.
Oh, Les
class.
Paul. Yeah. That's because we
What?
came up with, yeah.
Yeah. So we had two wildly different builds
Yep.
going at the same time.
Yep.
And we split it up.
We did.
You're like, which do you want to do? And me not being a dumbass said, well, I'll do the Les Paul guys.
Frankly, a Les Paul and a neck through are not easy guitars to build
No, neither one of them
For-
are easy.
yeah.
And
compared to a Fender style.
you had
instrument.
4 guys and I had 2,
Mhm.
which makes it even easier. And
Yeah.
so, and it would be, and yeah, you guys had a whole lot of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. We did. So one of the so I had 4 guys. I had Sean,
Mhm.
Doc,
Mhm.
Dave, and Doug. So I had the Dangerous Brothers, Doc,
Plus Doc
and Sean.
and Sean.
And most of the guys, Don, Dave, and Doug, built Firebirds.
Mhm. Yeah, they all got together. They all know each other well enough, and somebody had enough sway to go, hey, wouldn't it be neat if?
Somebody had enough sway to call Steve and say, I need an exact template breakdown for, what was it, 68
3,
or
4,
62
5.
Firebird. So
Yeah.
it went from being build a neck through to build a very specific neck through 3 times. And that was wildly stressful for me because, one, a neck through is hard enough, building an exact or a near exact replica of a Gibson Firebird. You guys know what I'm talking about, because the originals had like what, a 7 or 9 piece mahogany walnut laminate neck, and it's a very, very tricky guitar to get all the particulars and all the specifics exactly right. Yeah, and it was very, very stressful.
And that was a 5-day woodworking class and a 2-day paint component.
That's right.
Which isn't enough time to do either one of those things.
It's just not enough to do.
Yeah. Because as I recall, at least watching you guys, it was 4 days of guys carrying around a thing that was like this long, that never had wings on it until Friday.
Yeah.
And then they glued wings on it, and it was a mad rush to get those shaped the right way. And then it was 2 days of paint, as much paint as we could do in 2 days. And that was the early days of us using UV. And the whole thing. So they never even after 7 days, they didn't leave with a finished guitar. Doug kludged his together.
It was mostly done.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, at least the parts were on it. But
it's a bummer when the guitar isn't finished.
It kind of is.
Now, that's why I think the Essential Building Workshop is cool, because it's not a complete instrument, but you're not going to make a complete. You're just focusing on one aspect of guitar building, not So.
Yep. And so that was a hard class.
Yeah.
For you. Brian, Raul, and I had a great time until Raul dropped his guitar.
Now, okay, we told everyone we weren't going to say that. Dan says that he was in one too. He was in that one too. Actually, Dan, you were in the next one, which was not the one. It was Les Paul and neck through, because again, all those dates got mixed up. So
it was the same thing. I think, were there 3 Les Pauls that got built in that one? I think there were.
One that Mark and Ben were in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mark and Ben and Brian both built neck throughs.
Yeah, and then I did 2 Les Pauls, and
then Eric built a
Star
Jazz Master or something.
Which wasn't a Les Paul, but it was in the same ballpark. So so I had 3 and you had 3, and that was a little easier.
Yeah.
Victor says
I have
still the same thing. Everybody was carrying around 4x4x4 feet things. For 4 days.
But Victor says, I got a Jazzmaster body from Warmouth that's made from African mahogany, having problems with having even staining finish. I see why you guys don't use African mahogany. African mahogany is not my favorite. It just kind of stinks, and the dust gets places where the Honduran mahogany doesn't get, if you know what I mean. And but I haven't had any issues with paints.
Well, I think he's talking about stain. And if you're staining raw wood, sometimes it's splotchy, and woods do that. We don't stain raw wood. We spray candy colors over the top of sealed wood. And the reason we do it is because certain woods take stains better than others. So and I don't want to chase that. So we don't do it that way. But I do understand what you're saying.
Okay, Chris, let's talk about the dark history of workshops.
Okay.
There was a time when I couldn't think of anything we could possibly do different. So I basically came up with the idea of do whatever you want for a week.
I think that came about because guys were in the comments and all of that. Well, you should do a class like this, and you should do a class like this, and you should do, and it was like, okay. And I think you said, no one will come to this class, but we're gonna advertise it.
And I think in the advertising, I even said, no one's gonna come to this. And I can't guarantee that you're gonna walk away with anything.
You may come to this and
but firewood
with nothing. Sure enough, somebody did. And and it was just it was like every Friday of every other class for 5 days.
For 5 days.
Yeah, it was just
a
free for all.
I
want to do this. I want to do that. Can we do? I'm waiting my turn. And just like, holy cow, this is horrific.
It was.
I think there were 4 guys, but maybe there were only 3.
I know for a fact Rod was here, and I know for a fact that Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I
can't remember his last name right now. Short fat lawyer.
Yeah, I know Paul was here, and I know Rod was here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Steve was here for that one, but you do. But I can't remember who was.
Yeah, because he brought a bunch of projects, and we painted a bunch of stuff that I'd never seen before.
That sounds like a Raul thing.
He did a lot of paint, and Rod did a fair amount of paint. Rod did some setup. Rod brought a guitar that he had built in another, he built another guitar. He took one of the more woodworking centric classes, and we did some paint then. We sprayed sealer, we sprayed paint, we sprayed,
Butch says he would come to a class that was only drinking beer and eating Mexican food. Now that sounds like I don't know how much of a class that would be.
5-day class?
Yeah, it could be a 7-day class.
That might be a problem. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
That was in July.
Rod, let me know when this all was, and let's because I'm getting, again, after 6 years, I kind of get some stuff confused, and I get who was in what and what they were doing a little bit mixed up. So.
It was crazy.
Amanda says that her liver might fail that class. Lou wants to know how exactly would you teach beer drinking, eating. I don't.
It's not really a teaching.
It's really a pass fail workshop. Yeah. So were there any other workshops that we've done that were like, this is awful, we can't ever do this again?
I don't think so. The problem with that class is it wasn't awful. It was a lot of fun at times, but the success rate wasn't exactly.
It was exactly what was advertised.
Well, and there was a lot of stuff that happened, but who would say just come to my shop and do whatever you want? Do whatever you want. Days. Well, can I tell tales?
Well, yeah, but let's not name any names, and let's not say anything bad about anybody.
Okay, so I won't say. Well, so one guy decided, and this is a great idea. He'd come to another class, and he really wanted to learn how to make necks with tools that he had. So we bought.
I think that's
a set of Steve's neck templates using cable routers and plunge routers and stuff like that. And so he got the templates. You guys prepped a bunch of blanks, 4 or 5, something like that. And at the end of the week, he'd ruined every single neck blank and all the templates. That's a true story. And he broke my coffee cup. I loaned him a coffee cup, and I watched him accidentally shove it off the end of the table with one of the ruined neck blanks. That's a real story. And I felt horrible for him. For one thing, I barely ever saw him because I was in the main room doing other stuff.
It was when the wood shop was open.
First open. And he was in there, and there was a bench right here. Believe it or not, this is not underground. And he was here, and I would see him twice a day, something like that. And he's a really nice guy, and I really like him. He's super funny.
You even sang karaoke.
We sang. He can sang, and it was and I felt so bad because at the end of the week, and I'd go over first couple of days. How's it going? Oh, it's going good. And go back in. How's it going? This one got messed up. Oh, what happened here? Okay. And by the end, there wasn't anything.
There was nothing.
and not. I'm not bashing him. I don't because I wasn't there. I don't know where the issues were, where the disconnect was, but something happened to every single thing.
Well,
it was just a series of unfortunate events.
The fact of the matter is that the curriculum that I developed for essential neck building several years later was not what we followed when he was here.
Right.
There was no curriculum for that.
And it was
Because it was do anything you want.
Well, and it was, we don't build necks like that.
No.
So trying to, go back without vetting that process was really difficult, nigh on impossible. And things happen. And, when you're using a plunge router and you're trying to do stuff, it doesn't always go as well as when you use slightly bigger machines.
Yeah.
It's like when we first got the copy carver, we thought, this thing's going to be great for necks. It's terrible for necks.
It's awful for necks. Well, and if we, it could probably be better for necks if we decided that we wanted.
Yeah,
but it's not great. Our copy carver and the level of skill that we have with our copy carver is not particularly awesome for necks.
Well, it wobbles around a little bit, and it does, and so it's good for some things, but it's not good for other things. And so if we had more time to put into learning how to build necks with those jigs, maybe we could do it. I know
I'm
we
sure
could do
we
it.
could, yeah.
Yeah, but it would take a red hot minute more than Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into a neck, and a neck is, there's a lot of ways you can cover up mistakes on a body. On a neck, it's much, much harder to do. So
now we have never had any serious injuries.
Correct.
Never one. Mostly because you and I watch everybody like a hawk, and everybody everybody takes safety very seriously here in the shop. Is there any other? Do you have any other stories about the build anything you want? We don't care. Come and do whatever you want for 5 days.
Yeah, it was very interesting class.
No, interesting was not what it was.
Well, interesting
I was not interested in it.
Yeah. Well, so we got done, and you're like, we are never doing that again.
Part of me says,
I think you're right.
Like after however many years it's been, 3 or 4 years, I'm like, oh, we should do that again. That was so funny that it was, but yeah, that would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, I think. Well, we were talking about it last night, and I think you'd forgotten a lot of it.
I completely spaced it out.
Yeah. There's a that stuff is vivid in my mind.
Just thinking about just how ridiculous and how absurd it is to say, do whatever you want. You probably won't work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and guys were hauling in stuff and crates of stuff, and Steve Foligno had left some wire here, and he called me up. He's like, hey, I think I left my wire, and I said, well, Steve, I'll remember you every time I use it. And maybe I made him mad. I don't know.
I don't know.
But, I wasn't going to send him back $4 worth of wire.
No.
So, yeah. And, it was just ridiculous.
You're right, Curtis. I did block it out. Yeah, it was positively awful.
PTSD, yeah.
Were there any? But I think that was far and away the silliest thing that I have ever come up with.
I think, honestly, the other silliest thing that you ever came up with was 5 days of 1 day body builds.
Oh, yeah, it was awful too. Although a lot of good stuff came from that. Well,
yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. But
the very first time we ever met Doug was at that. We met Dylan because of that.
Yeah, lifelong friendship with Dylan and Doug now because of that.
So
Jeff Profit.
Remind everybody what that was, just in case they don't remember.
I don't know why or how.
That was idea. Too.
And I remember thinking this is going to be terrible, but you decided right over there, drinking beer on Sunday, live stream, that we were going to have 5 days of build a guitar body for $100.
That's right.
You had to supply your own wood, but we had wood you could buy.
That's right. So, but it was anything you could do in one day.
You could do in 1 day.
Huh? No, for a day.
No, for a day.
So if you came in on Monday and built one, you could come back on Tuesday, but it was another $100.
Yeah, and so Doug,
it was
signed up for a full week.
It was right in the middle of COVID, was it not?
It was, and I
Yeah.
think that was one of the reasons that we did it.
We just wanted to see if we could get people
people to come in. It was a little bit of a panic move on our part, and had people from all over. I think every day was full except one. And really, we were hoping that everybody would want to build like a Telecaster.
Nobody did.
Yeah,
except for the guy who.
The one day that there was hardly anybody in the class, the guy came in. He was like, "I want to build a Tele." He was done by like one.
Yeah.
But everybody else came up with this crazy crap. One guy had, I swear, 5 different templates for all the stuff that he wanted, because like he wanted a Jag switch and a half an Explorer with a Floyd for real, and and all these crazy pickups. There was like a Jazzmaster in the neck and a Strat and a humbucker. There's no template that we have that has all 3 of those.
No.
So that's 3 templates right there.
And it was
then a Jag
way
switch
before the advent of Steve's off-body alignment pin fit all templates.
Yeah, and these things were just, and then there was this thing with a scroll on the upper horn.
There was?
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Local kid.
Yeah.
And just crazy. And on top of that, there was partying every night because everybody came and everybody's like, I'm going to make the most out of my day at Texas. That was the first time we met Devin Riddle, which was cool.
That's right. I forgot. Devin, huh? I know, right? Yeah.
We lost money on that.
We lost a lot of money on that deal.
We did belt sander races against Dylan's RC car. You trounced him in here. He beat you out there.
Yep.
It was ridiculous in all the best ways, but really bad idea.
Doug says he still hasn't finished that Les Paul.
Yeah.
Doug.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, okay. Far and away, though, the come into the shop, we open the doors for you and you can do anything you want. We're basically all we did was make sure people didn't cut parts of their body off.
Yeah.
That was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And then the build your guitar body in one, as much guitar body as you can build in one day for $100.
Yeah, with 5 other guys.
That was stupid. That was before we had the wood shop.
Yeah, everything was in this room.
Everything was in this room, and
just ridiculous.
And it was before we knew Jim.
It was.
And if you figure if JJJ was part of that, and he was retired,
we'd all be dead.
He would be here every day, and he could divert some. He could like go, hey, no, let's be done with that. Let's go and party at the Upright Lounge
or whatever. Yeah, it was. Yeah, because every day was a new day. It was a lot of work.
Dylan says that was the beginning of a lot of amazing things. Yeah, and you know what, Dylan, you're 100% right.
And I'm not sorry we did it, but not the best idea.
The problem, I think what we had originally intended was that all those guys would come back, and a handful of them have.
And we made a lot of friends, and But the other thing is, if you only have a day, and we want him to succeed, there was a lot of rapid fire as fast as we could do it. Give me that.
Yeah,
I'll do it kind of stuff. And it probably still didn't work out very well.
Dave sent us a super chat and said the first airbrush class was bad for Mike's wife. LOL. Yeah, I think that it was. I think it was pretty rough on Diana because she was having to make all these different things. I mean, it better her than me.
But yeah. Behind the computer and design things.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a lot of. I want to say though that the Mike Learn airbrush workshops were really fun.
They were really cool. They were rad. There was a ton of pre-class prep
on both of those. There were.
We did all those custom fretboards.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
All those bodies that were all sealed up and ready to go. For the most part. On day one, when you show up, you start sanding sealer.
Yeah.
At like 9:30.
If we had to do that class again, what would you do differently?
If we had to do,
I would say I would start with Strats and bodies from Steve, and
Yeah,
there
I
you
think-
go.
Yeah, I think so. I think next would be more done,
Mhm,
maybe all done.
mhm.
Yeah, to give you more time for a little more paint, a little more
Yeah.
assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were fun classes. Yeah. And the other thing is because we had a third guy here, Mike knows everything we know.
Yeah.
We could have more people here. So they were jammed.
I want to say,
packed.
Brian, do you remember, was there like 8 or 9 guys for yours, or
I think it was 8.
okay? And I think there was 8 or 9 for
Well, I
the
think there were
Spaz
eight-
Master
eight-
one too.
8 guys doing the class,
Plus
and Mike built one and I built one. I think there were
Oh,
10.
that's right.
I think we built 10 Billy Bows that week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Butch says he'll be back eventually. Well, Butch, I hope that if we ever do that Mexican food beer workshop, you'll be there for that.
Yeah. Really, we could do that anytime. That could just be
Sure.
a solo gig.
Yeah.
Just show up. We'll go out for Mexican and
And Dan says he wants to come for the same one. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. Yeah. Dan,
Yeah.
how are you? How is Dan Andreas doing? I hear that Dan had a back, he threw out his back or something. I
yeah?
hope he's doing some better. So yeah. Well, gang, we are just about out of time here, and we've got we want to make way for Dylan and Dylan Talks Tone. The Dylan Talks Tone Thursday podcast live stream. He and his lovely wife Leslie will be answering your questions for at least an hour about guitars, and then
and then they go into
probably another hour
their hour of where they will not answer anything guitar related.
They won't answer any
unless-
guitar rate
unless it's in a super chat.
Okay.
So so they move on to other stuff after the first hour. I listened to his thing last week as I was.
Thank you,
driving
Mike
home.
Beckloff. Oh yeah.
So I hadn't watched or hadn't listened to one live in quite a while because live you can't fast forward.
Yeah, that's right.
So I learned a lot.
Okay. Well, anyway, gang, we will see you tomorrow night for the reveal of the first workshop of 2025, the Build a Classic Fender. I think you're going to see some stuff that will positively blow you away.
We got to spend, as Matt said, more time on body shape and getting them right, and a little more time on paint.
Yep. And
Which always counts.
That makes all the difference.
It can.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, and stick around don't stick around here. Go over to Dylan's channel and hang out with Dylan, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.